Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you guys are. I hope you're having a really, really great day. We're here for another build stream. It's Sunday, which means it's build stream day, right? It's a good thing. It's really warm in here as well, so rosy cheeked Jay because it's really, really warm in here because I came here today during the day. I left the heating on in the office whilst I went home and had some dinner and spent some time with the wife. And then I came back and it was really warm in here. So I've had the door and the window open, but hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. Let's see who is in chat. So first of all, we had Huey. He was first with 4. That's what he said. He said 4, but he was first. Anaki's here as well. He says, hi, Jay. We've also got Smudge and Karcher. Good evening, gentlemen. Glad to see you. We've got Zombie, Keep Stuff, Hot Lemon Tea, and Vogon all here as well. Unicorn's here. He says, meow, meow, everyone, and at Top Clack. So, meow. Snoo Breakthroughs here as well. Unicorn has all sorts of emojis going on there. I'm not sure what's going on, but lots is going on there. Snoo actually asks, anyone thinking of the Mode 80? Well, funnily enough, you should mention that because that's what I'll be building today. I bought a Mode 80 about 5 or 6 weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer, maybe 8 weeks. It's been sat in my warehouse and I haven't built it, so I figured why not build it now? So yeah. Vogon says, so many points and nowhere to spend them. Yeah, I keep nudging Brian to try and do something about the points. We will get there, guys. We will get there. I didn't, my second 2 cups of coffee today. Maybe I won't be awake until 3 a.m. again this time. Man, coffee is the lifeblood. It's a bootleg metal detector stream. No, that's tomorrow on my Instagram stories. That's tomorrow on my Instagram stories, dude. Jempot says, hello, it's Treeleaf. Hi, Treeleaf. Hi, Treeleaf again, Gilbert. Weird that you both called Treeleaf. I detect shenanigans. I don't know what a Mode 80 is, but whatever it is, it's going to be a nice stream. It's a car. We're going to be building a car today on stream. That's exactly what it is. No, it's a keyboard. Switch Doctor, good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for joining. Which cheeks are rosy? Ooh, woo, it depends. Stocks, ask me later and I'll give you some more answers on that one. Daj is here as well. He says hello. Hugh says you're goddamn right. Shitchin is here as well. Hey she. He says hey Jay. Drakstar as well. Evening, Mr. Petrov. DP Luna as well says hypers. Hypers man. Yeah. Smudge says I will be building with you today, Jay. Where are you here? I just don't know it. Are you in the warehouse? Andreas is here as well. He says he just had his second cup of coffee, and I know I need to DM you, dude. I know I do. I will. I'm sorry. Crab says evening as well. Existentially yours as well. Someone else I need to DM. Yes,
Ooh,
everyone who I need to DM.
Very nice.
Ooh, very nice. Thank you very much for that Prime subscription. Existentially yours. 8 months now. Wow, man, that's crazy. 8 months. But yes, everyone who I need to DM is showing up on stream. I've just been busy, guys, I promise. Okay, so yeah, it's time to do a build stream. It's time to show you guys what the Mode 80 is like, do a build stream, and then give my thoughts on it. I'm not being suspicious. I'm not being suspicious. I'm just really, really busy. Just really busy. I know I need to DM a few people. Okay. Let's flip over the camera now we've done the introductions and take a look at what we're going to be building today. Ta-da! Okay, so first things first. This is the box that this keyboard comes in. Mode 80 mechanical keyboard. It has taken a couple. Come on, camera, please. Camera, please. There we go. Mode 80 mechanical keyboard has taken a little bit of a beating as this box in places. That's more my fault than anything else. It's just been stacked up with other boxes on top of it. So I apologize for that. Zapri says, evening, Mr. J. Hope you're well. It's just J, man. No, Mr. No formalities needed here, man. It's just nice, chill, and easy. Yeah, just nice and chill and easy. Why is the camera not focusing here? I think it's this color. It's getting it. A car building stream with Jay will be interesting. It'd be fun, right? Maybe I'll do it one day. Okay, opening up, we have a few things in here. I did get an extra FR4 plate. They were kind enough to send me that for free, as well as some notes.
Very nice.
Thank you very much. Ooh, very nice to Gilbert. Subscribe for 2 months is very nice. So, meet the 80. Keyboards have become integral to work, play, and creative expression. The 80 elevates the look, sound, and feel of this essential tool. We hope your experience with it is as fun as it is fruitful. Your kind friends at Mode. So I did pay for this. I want to be clear that I actually bought this unit. This isn't like a freebie given to some streamers or anything, but I did get some freebies with this. I just want to be really clear about this, which bits I bought and which bits I got as free. So I did get an extra FR4 and an extra PCB for free. I also got some keycaps that are Mode designed keycaps for free as well, but I did pay for the actual board and everything else. So just to be really crystal clear on that, that's where we're at. So I'll show you the keycaps later on, but anyway. So let's take a look at what we've got in here. So the first thing is this freebie assembly that we got here. Gotta say, I love the packaging. I think these guys are using the same people I use for my crepe paper, which is no issue. You should definitely check them out. Sustainable as all hell. Really, really worthwhile checking out. We've got some foams. Interesting. We have an FR full plate. You can choose to use the FR full plate with or without these top gaskets. No top gaskets equals more flex. Okay, interesting. So that's a really nice FR full plate. And thank you to Mode for giving me the handwritten details here. That's very nice of them. You can tell I haven't opened this up before. This is the first time I've looked at it. So there we go, guys. That's the first. We'll talk about these soon, because I have some thoughts on these. Okay, and then the other thing we have in here is a spare PCB. So I won't open this one up yet, but you can see it's got the Mode logo here, and it's a PCB. It's a PCB. I don't know what else to say about that, but we'll take a look at it. As well as that, we also get a cable, which is Mode branded, which is really nice. Nice USB-C cable. We get a standard AIO3 style daughter board, which actually has the unified C3 logo on the base. So this looks like it's a C3 version, but hey, it's the same thing. We have some Allen tools and some spare screws. We have a Mode 80 card, which confirms that this is a first edition in the dark colorway with, it says no caps, but I did get some caps, no switches, and a solderable PCB. So there you go. We also get a nice Mode cleaning cloth as well. We'll pop that to one side, and then we get two gaskets type materials, which these are for feet. So yeah, pretty nice. Underneath, we have this, which is a nice, I wouldn't call it a hard case, it's kind of soft and squishy, but it's a nice protective case, I would call it. It's definitely not a hard case, but it's not a soft case either. It's kind of in between. Okay, I don't have enough desk space for this build. Okay, and then in here, this is where we get to the goodness. Again, I have not looked at the keyboard itself. Oh, it's already open. I haven't looked at the keyboard. I've looked to here, and this is as far as I've got. If anyone watches my Insta stories, you'll have seen that I opened it up to this point and then never went any further. That's true to right up until this moment. But it's nice, smooth, and soft inside. This is like a velvety honeycomb material. It's really nice. A couple of straps to keep the keyboard in. Let's see if we can tuck those out of the way. And then, come on, stay under there. It's not going to stay. And then grab the keyboard, take it out. Nothing else in here, but it is all very velvety lined. It is very nice. But as I say, I'm not sure I would call it a hard case because it is kind of flexible and kind of soft, but it's still a very, very nice protective case. SM Keyboards, what is this paper co? You want to look at No Issue, like this paper nice stuff. It's great. I think it comes from the same places I get mine. Pub Goku, thank you very much for that very nice subscription. Currently on a 13-month streak. Thank you. I get some very similar for Prototypist, and it comes from a company called No Issue, but they're sustainable. They're really good. They're really green. I definitely recommend them. Musa Rides is here as well. He says, "Hey Jay, did you find your keys?" No, but watch my Insta stories tomorrow, because if they're anywhere, I'm going to find them tomorrow with a calculator. With a calculator. That's what's going to find my keys tomorrow. Are you guys known as 4chan? Yes, Kakan, this is exactly right. What is the Paper Co? I think we talked about that SM keyboards. It's I think this is No Issue, which is what I use. But even if this isn't No Issue, then No Issue is the best paper company out there at the minute. I put Salvin onto them and a few others. They're really, really good. Excited to hear the sound of this board? Well, so am I, and I'm kind of intrigued as well because I've not looked at the board. I've seen some other pictures, but I haven't watched any build streams for it. So this is going to be my first time seeing the board, and I'm kind of interested in the build based on what I've seen from the plate, and I have some thoughts on how it might sound, but we'll talk about that as we get into the build. Yeah, the packaging's great. Yeah, packaging is really, really, really nice. Yeah, it's really good. SM Keyboards just found the website. Yeah, it's not cheap, but it's really good stuff, and the company is incredibly sustainable. So guys, just check it out. No Issue. If you need crepe paper, if you need craft stuff, if you need tape, if you need disposable bags, go check them out because they're just such a good company. Like, I can't speak highly enough of them. They don't sponsor me or anything else, but they're just a really good company. They're US based, but they ship worldwide. It's really good. Okay, so let's take a look at this and open it up. Instantly, I can see that we've got an interesting shape to the board. There's kind of like a ledge at the back here as well. So that's going to be interesting. It's all nicely wrapped up like a gift. It's very, very nice. Pub Goku apparently has landed a job after leaving uni. Congrats, man. Congrats. That's really big news. Well done, man. Well done. Okay, are you ready for this, guys? That's a shiny boy. That's a shiny, shiny, shiny boy. Dixie's here as well. He says, "Dang Jay, you've got a strong COVID beard game going on, dude. Like, you clearly haven't seen it. This has been growing since like May. Like, I've been really going for it, dude. Yeah, this is really interesting. That's a really shiny boy. Like, that's like, hey guys, that's a really shiny boy. Pretty impressive. You've got to like some nice PVD when it comes out well. Okay, so whew, shiny. Okay, first things first, let's install the feet on this before we go any further. I'm really conscious about putting fingerprints on it. What a shiny butt. It is, yeah. What's the PVD quality like? Let me put the feet in, Mr. Petrov, and we'll take a gander at the PVD quality. Oh no! Oh no! Okay. PVD is notoriously difficult to get right. Well, that fitted without a hitch. That's nice. Nice, good quality gasket feet. Can I show the side profile? Yeah, I will do. I will do. Yeah. Almost ready to drop $640 on this one. So here, I can't remember what I paid for it. If you guys are interested, I will dig out what I paid for it. Bear in mind, I did get a couple of freebies, but I paid for the board. It was just an extra PCB and plate assembly and some keycaps that I got, which I'll show you later. Should I have a look and see what I paid for this? Well, let me see if I can find in my emails what I paid for it. Okay. So I paid $700.87 for this board. $700.87 shipped to the UK. That includes shipping, that includes the board and everything else. And the only other thing I had to pay was customs and import fees, which were 20% of that. So, you know, it's not cheap. Like, it was probably close to 900 quid in total. So it's an expensive board, but that doesn't mean anything because it could be good. It could be worth the money. We need to build it.
Ooh, very nice.
Music is a bit loud. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize, guys. I've turned that down. Is that better? Is that better, guys? Music is too loud. Yeah, sorry. Apologies, guys. Music down. Attacks motion seconded. Yeah. Take a look at the side profile now. Let's have a look. So you can see it's got a classic straight edge. A little bit of a rear curve. We've seen that on quite a lot of boards these days. Usually it's for a Toblerone style piece at the back, but Mode do it in just this standard kind of seamless top piece. and then that glorious PVD. Like, I have to be honest, right? I'm really always skeptical when it comes to PVD because it's difficult to get PVD right. Like, it's so easy to have watermarks in it and everything else. Now, this isn't perfect. Let me try and zoom in. It's going to be really difficult to show you guys this on camera, but let me try and zoom in. Let me try and get you some details here and see if you can see it. See if I can find a way of showing it. So what there is there's a line that runs down here. I don't know if you can kind of see that just there. There's like a seam that runs down it here. It's really faint. It is difficult to see, and I'm not surprised. I think you can kind of see it there. You can kind of see it. If I show you here, look, the line just runs down here. Can you see that? Kind of see it? Yeah, it's really hard to show it, guys. There. That's probably the best I can show. That's the blemish that's on this. That's the only blemish. It runs pretty much full length of the board. It runs from here to here. Can't see it from here to here. So it's fairly long, but like you have to be really looking to see it. There's no scratches. There's no watermarks. This is nothing like the Dora 67 PVD that I got. This is actually good quality PVD. Like it looks nice. It feels nice. The laser logo on the bottom is kind of nicely done as well, but there is a bit of a seam. I suspect that that's where they've double dipped it into the tank. Could be wrong. I don't know. That's what I think. Okay, let's zoom back out and carry on with the build. Volume is good now. Excellent. Yeah, Brian's been changing with sense. He's done a build stream. You can always tell when Brian's done a build stream. Across the mic boom arm, you can see it. Yeah. Anti-shiny keyboard clip. Does it feel chunky? Yes and no. It's not like the chunkiest keyboard. Like it's fairly weighty. I'll wait once we've built it if you guys are interested in that. But it's not the heaviest keyboard I've ever had. Okay. That rose gold Geist is going to be bad shiny, too shiny. I'm interested to see how Geist turns out. I think it's going to be quite good. Okay. Okay, so here you can see a aluminium plate with these gaskets installed on top. And then you can see we've got some plate foam in between. I'm probably not going to use this for the first build because I'm genuinely not a fan of foams, but I probably will put the gaskets on whichever plate we decide to use. In fact, I'll let you guys pick. We'll use the vote function in a minute, whether we build with the aluminium plate or the FR4 plate. Whichever one we use, we'll use the top foams. But I'm not going to use this foam on this build. If I do a second build with a second PCB and plate, I will use that then. Just looking on the inside of the case, you can see it's got this lasered infilled detail here. It says first edition number 234 of 450, designed by Mode. Only 3 case screws, and the interesting thing about this is it actually uses something that I've wanted to do for a long time. It uses case screws, but uses them by actually using a lip mount. So you actually, there's some recesses here that the actual bottom case clips into, so it nips into those so it can't pull out of the bottom. So you rock in the bottom first, and then you push it in, and then you screw the points in. I've kind of wanted to do that for a while, so it's nice to see someone else kind of implementing those kind of things. Anodization looks good on the inside as well. You can see that they've used these 3 points as the hook marks because there's no anodization on top of the circles. Machining looks really good. There is some issues with machining and some design changes they could make. So this is all inside, so this is me being really, really anal now, guys. But then again, I did spend $700 on the board. So in here, there's kind of some marks there. I don't know if you see, it's like a little semicircle at the end of my finger. There's quite a few of those dotted around the case. This line here is also not crisp. There is some blemishes just here, some tiny chips. These are all internal. I'm being really anal here, guys. I'm just trying to show you. There's also some machine marks just in this top corner, just there. As far as the outside goes, I can see 0 machining marks, and this is only at first quick glance, but I can't see any issues on the outside of the case. Like the outside looks really, really good. Okay, let's take a look at how this thing mounts. So, as we said before, we've got the 3 screws that go through the board to hold it together. Zoom back out. We've got 3 screws that go through the board to hold it together. So this will effectively sit in like so. Obviously you have the plate in there as well, but that's how it goes in. In terms of the actual keyboard itself, it looks like it just rests on the foam. Wait, is that right? It just rests on the foam? I'm not a fan of that. No, I haven't. I just didn't want to spoil this build myself and watch other people's builds on it and stuff. But really interesting. Hey James, thank you very much for joining. Permeability, agree, not being too nitpicky at this price point. I just want to be really clear. Like this isn't like, I know some streamers got these for free. I didn't. I paid for this. This is one that I bought. I just got an extra PCB plate and some keycaps, right? And we'll talk about the keycaps later on. But yeah, like I'm really interested in that. Okay, so you can see the board fits in here and the cables run, but it looks like it just mounts onto the foam and it's just going to rest on this foam internally, and that's how it's going to be mounted. That kind of feels weird. I'm not sure I like that. I don't want to rely on foam inside a case personally. I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I really don't know. Like, yeah, okay. This is one to have a think about. Okay, let's ignore that for now. Let's see how it builds. Let's see how it goes together and how it turns out when we build it. Okay, put that to one side. Let's take a look at the rest of the base now. So we have this foam. Not a huge fan of that. So the inside of this is where you can see it's not as shiny and reflective as the outside. So you can see that my reflection in this board is not as clear as it is on that side. That's because this inside has got a different finish to the aluminium underneath. So it's been sandblasted to a different level of tolerance. It's not bad, but clearly the PVD on the inside is nowhere near as good as it is on the outside. You can see the shapes in the light. If you look there where the light shines down, you can see the shapes around it where it's not polished very nicely. Whereas if I do that, you can see that it's polished really nicely. So it is interesting. It is different. There is some blemishes in here as well, like in the gaps in here. That's not filled correctly with PVD, so that's going to chip and flake over time as well. So just bear that in mind, guys, as well. The top layer is not as good. The logo impression is really good as well. It's nice that the numbers match and everything else. That does mean that you have to have bigger yields and more successful yields. Otherwise, you start putting numbers on stuff and then you realize that a top case hasn't passed and a bottom case has. It kind of gets difficult. So it's worthwhile bearing that in mind. Interesting. That's what I'll say so far. Interesting. Okay. And then in terms of the plate, so the plate just sits on top of the PCB assembly, and then it looks like it just rests on this foam. Like I genuinely can't see anything else that it does. Like the people say the plate is the mounting system. It's not really. It just kind of rests on the foam. That's the only way this is going to go together. But the big thing about this base that I do like is this ledge system. So when I told you earlier on about how it only needs screws at the rear, the reason for that is because these ledges that you can see here, these actually clip into the front of the case. So you slot those into the front of the case, they sit inside the lip, and then you fold the back down, you screw it in. That's kind of a nice touch. I do like that. That's a really nice touch. Not keen on the foam mounting though. I feel like it's not going to feel great. Okay, so let's see if there is anything else to this. So all of the mounting, all the gasket does on the top case is stop it rattling against the top case. I think the gaskets on the top case are a good idea. And then that goes on to there like so. And then that's going to clip on to the base as well. So yeah, okay, so it all makes sense in how it goes together. There is no real mounting system apart from resting it on this. Not sure how I feel about that, but it's not feeling good right now. With the ledge system, you wouldn't get a tight flush connection between top and bottom case. You'd have micro gaps maybe. Potentially. It's a good idea in principle.
Tasty,
Kubachek,
tasty.
thank you very much for the 1-bit man. Welcome to the stream. It's a good idea in principle, but I've never seen it done in keyboards, and I've only seen it done in kind of like consumer products made of plastic, where bending and tolerances are very different to in machine parts. So we'll see how it goes. There was no rattle when I picked it up, though, Mr. Petro, so I suspect they've got it nailed. And that's kind of the board. That's it. That's all there is to the board. That's it. The bottom foam will make it tight. So the idea here, right? Okay, so let me show you what the idea here is. The idea here is that the plate will sit and push up against this surface here with the gaskets, and then you'll have the switches holding the PCB and plate assembly apart from each other, like so. And then the plate will rest on top of the foam and push down into the foam. And as you're typing, you're basically bouncing up and down on that foam that's inside the case, right? That's basically how the mounting works. It's not really a mounting system as much as it is just putting some foam in the bottom of the case and having no mounting tabs. The thing for alignment that they've got in place is these 3 screws that come all the way through, and you can see that they sit all the way through the plate and the PCB as well. That means that there's no alignment issues, everything's going to fit in the right place. But hey, let's see how it builds. Let's see how it builds. Let's catch up. Having 2 serial numbers internally is interesting. It is. It's very interesting. Joe from Crafted Cable says, "Yo Jay, what's up, man? Hey man, good to see you, dude. I think I packaged something for you today. I think." Not really worth $700 US. I thought opening it would be a chunky weight like Kepler, but nah, I'm okay. It's not as heavy as a Kepler. Like, it's way off that. Way off that. I guess the whole board will feel quite stiff with this mounting system. I don't know, man. It depends on how much give this foam has. It could be quite soft. It could be quite firm. Who knows? But what we need to do is we need to make a decision, gang. And that decision needs to be... where has my option gone for that? Hold on. Let me find this. There we go. So the decision that we need to do is what plate should we use? Let me put this in. Okay, so you guys are going to have 3 minutes to help me decide which plate we use. Let's start the poll. That'll run in Twitch. We've got a choice. We can either use the aluminium plate, black aluminium, huge gaps, or alternatively, we can use the FR4 plate, which has still got big gaps but smaller ones. It's time for you guys to vote and see what you want to use. Got a couple of minutes to talk about it and see what you guys think. I'm interested to see how this comes out. I think I know how it's going to come out. Now, let's talk about these plates while you're doing that. So first of all, this is the first plate that you get. Now, the first thing that jumps at everybody that sees this plate is this huge gap here, and this huge gap here as well, right? These huge gaps are not usual for plates, and I think the idea behind them here is that they allow you to remove the stabilizers and add stabilizers after you've soldered the board. I get why they're there, but I am really concerned about the sound difference and the sound profile it will make. Okay. The whole thing has no ISO, Anarchy. The whole board has no ISO. There is no ISO support on the PCB, and you can't drop another PCB in here because of the 3. I'm going to call it a mounting system, but it's not really. But because of the 3 mounting holes, you can't just drop another PCB in here either. So you have to use their PCB, but it is ANSI only. And the really interesting thing about this actually is that all of the components are on the soldering side. So this is the side that you put the key switches in, which is the solderable side of or what would usually be the solderable side. So all the components are on the top side. So the switches are going to sit in here like this. Let's grab a switch. The switches are going to sit in here like so. And then we're going to solder on the opposite side. So all of the components are going to be hidden. Now that kind of strikes me as an issue, because if you need to fix the PCB, say a diode breaks or blows or gets overheated or whatever, you have to desolder the entire board to fix it. Like, you literally have to desolder the entire board to fix it. Or just have a free PCB. Yeah, I did get a free PCB, yeah. Yeah, I think it is because of the mounting system flex, I think you're absolutely right. So I think the reason why they've done this and they've put the components on the top side of the PCB is so that when it's pressing against the foam, the only thing that's actually going to imprint the foam is the switch pins, and there's going to be none of the diodes or chips or anything else touching the foam. I get why they've done it, but I still think it's a bit of a design flaw personally. I would like to see the other options. I know they do have hot swap capable PCBs for this, so that might change it, might fix it, but hey, we'll see. Okay, let's see which plate wins the vote. FR4 by an outstanding margin, 30-5. Wow, it's huge. So we're going with FR4 today. Go with FR4. There we go. Which means we can put this one to one side. I am going to use this as a reference for how the gaskets go together. So we've got thin one, thin one, thin one, thin one, the N shape, thick one, thick one. That's how we're going to go. So we will install the gaskets first on this FR4 plate, and we'll try and install them in the same way. Let's just get this up for reference. So you've got the smallest, thinnest one just in this bottom corner. And then we've got two that are the same that are going to go up the sides of the keyboard. I think that's this one and that one. Yeah, that's those two. Help if I didn't stick this to my finger first. Okay, and then we're going to go up the other side. You're only going with FR4 to see me glue the gaskets to the plate. Hold on, I can't see what I'm doing over there. Let's bring this a little bit closer, right, so I can see. Okay. And then we've got one that's going to go across. Oh, that didn't come off properly. I will say the gaskets are really good quality. These are clearly laser cut, very nicely done. I'm kind of a big fan of how these gaskets are made. Whether or not I like them for their implementation is a different matter, but the way that I see these being used, yeah, big fan. Being produced, big fan. Okay. Last long gasket, and then we're going to put the H part in. Okay, there we go. And last gasket to go in. The only shame about this bit is it's going to cover up with that mode logo, but I think that's okay. There we go. Gaskets installed, relatively neat job, even if I do say so myself, for something done at pace and quickly. But there we go. Just eyeballing, yeah. Why wouldn't I eyeball it? Glue the gaskets to the plate directly. Man, the install failure rate of that is going to be high. Yeah, I agree, but I'm relatively practiced at doing this. I think I've done a pretty bang-up job, considering... I mean, these ones are clearly applied in the factory. I think I've done a pretty bang-up job there. Okay, so plate done. It's now time to assemble the plate and PCB assembly with some stabilizers and everything else that we need. So let's just put the case to one side. We don't need a spare PCB, so I'm going to drop that on the floor gently. We might need those screws. We won't use the cable because I have a cable plugged in on the desk ready for this, and we will need the daughter board. So let's put the board to one side, and let's start on the switch assembly here. The other interesting thing about this as well is I can't put any pressure too much on the PCB whilst it's resting on the desk, because the JST connector is actually a vertical JST connector. Instead of a horizontal flat one, it's a vertical one, which means that the plate doesn't sit flush and will kind of wobble around and will risk breaking that if I put too much pressure on. So I have to be careful with that as well. I'm not the most experienced keyboard builder on planet Earth at all. I suspect, Wilson, that you would need to have the gaskets given to you as spares, or be able to buy the gaskets as spares. Okay, so now we've put it together. Let's talk about the differences between the aluminium plate and the FR4 plate. So apart from the material difference, the big key difference here is, for me, these blockers, the way they're cut out. There's actually a connection here. That's for the reset button, and then there's actually connections here, whereas on this plate, it's all open in that area. And again, I know that the idea behind this is to be able to get to your stabs, but I'm really worried about how that would sound on a keyboard. Like, I don't think that would sound particularly good. Like, it's just open space around all of these keys. There's nothing holding the switches in place. Not a fan of that. This is marginally better, but the switch cutouts are still huge, and I don't like this whole area here. Like, if you look at that whole area there, it's just still a huge area for two switches and two keys, especially two large ones. Again, this isn't terrible, but it's still not ideal. I think you can still do it a lot neater and a lot nicer. Most of the plates have switch cutouts and stab cutouts for a reason, rather than merging them all to one. But hey, it's something new. Let's try it, and let's not judge it until we've tried it, I think. But I am worried about it. Okay, so let's talk about switches and stabilizers. Switches, we're going to be using marshmallows today. So these are lubed with Krytox 205 at grade 0 on the stem and 105 on the springs. So that's what switch we're going to be using today. And in terms of stabilizers, we're going to be using some C3 purple stabilizers, because these are all I had lying around at short notice. In terms of the bottom row, this is a fully open bottom row, so I'm still going to build it with the Sangan style 7U bottom row, I think, just because that fits my typing style better than the 6.25U one does, and I think it looks nicer as well. So we're still going to go with a 1.251, 1.51, 1.5, 7, 1.51, 1.5 bottom row. That's what we're going to build with today. First job, though, stabilizers. So we're going to go with 7U bottom row. I existentially yours. So the interesting thing here is I don't think you can build it without the foam. Like, I don't think you can. The foam is the mounting point. Like, that's what it mounts on. It rests on the foam. The PCB and plate assembly rests on the foam. That's what it does. So inherently, it has to use the foam internally. Otherwise, it's just going to clack and sound horrible, and probably break some components. The part between the plate and the PCB, yes, that's optional, and I'm not using that. So I have that here, the plate and the PCB foam, the part between there. This is optional. I'm not using that. That's absolutely optional. But the foam underneath is not optional. You have to use that. It doesn't. It's a no mounting method, in my opinion. Okay, so we need backspace, ANSI enter. We'll go for the full right shift, because why not? So we need 1, 2, 3, 4 2Us. That's 3. And that's 4 2Us, and then we need 1 for the 7U. Whoops. Would scratch the PVD. Of course it would, Anarchy. You're 100% right. I mean, it's just going to be resting straight on it, and most PVD is going to scratch easily as well, yeah. Okay, so we don't need that little baggie anymore. We can throw that away. We need the screws in a minute. We need some wires. We don't need that baggie. We don't need those. Okay, great. Now we need 4 2U wires out of here, which I think is all I have in here. There we go. Yeah, get sandwiched with the foam. It has to rest on that. Yeah. The bottom foam is the mounting method, which I'm not a fan of. Okay, so first job is let's lube the stabilizers. And then let's see what we've got. Can't flex and short on the bottom. I mean, it will rest on the bottom on this geo. It will rest on the bottom if you don't put the foam in. The foam is the only thing that's keeping it off the bottom. Okay. Just going to lube these up nicely. Not adding too much lube. We can always go back and add more later with this plate. We can take them out and put more on if we need to, or take some off. At least we don't need to worry about that with this plate. Oh yeah, you can't cut out some space in the middle realistically. Like it's just not going to be conducive to having a reliably built board, I don't think. Just because then at that point you are absolutely at risk of what Anarchy suggested, which is shorts and other things. Okay, so that's that stabilized built. We'll lube the rest of it in a few minutes. Yeah, I am kind of sad that it doesn't offer ISO. But like this, the interesting thing about this is that it was, you know, in stock, and it's a huge number of boards that are in stock, plus then followed by an unlimited group buy, which was the reason I bought into it. I wanted to see if it was worth buying into and seeing what that kind of made out for me. That was way too much lube on the brush then. Okay. Are you afraid the foam will kind of lock the boards towards a muted sound rate? I mean, it's gonna, right? It has to, because that's what foam does. I also don't like the idea of just using foam as a mounting method. Like in my head, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't feel like it's the right thing to do. But perhaps I'm jaded, and perhaps I am too used to other mounting methods to be able to realize the potential in this. So I'm going to keep my options open and my mind open until I've tried it out. But I do feel like, as Gio said, there's a huge margin for error here. Like, people who are inexperienced could easily make mistakes with this kind of build. I put way too much in the brush there. On the brush. Yeah, I somehow scooped it with the brush instead of picking up just a tiny bit. I mean, there is something to be said for putting these large plate holes in for beginners. Like, it makes it easier to adjust your stabilizers later on if you need to. I kind of get that that's not a bad thing for beginners. I'm just not sure how this works as an enthusiast level board. I think that's my major worry here. What's your verdict from marshmallows? I kind of like marshmallows. I think they're good switches. Like, they're not terrible switches at all. Once lubed, they come alive. They're like nearly as nice as an alpaca to me. Probably a bit on the light side in terms of the spring weighting, but the colours are to die for. Like, I really like the colours. Man, I forgot how tight these C3 stabs were. You'd be surprised at how many beginners end up with a $700 board for their first. Yeah. I'm not sure I could recommend that to most people, but sure, some people do. Whoops. Looks like this is the way the mute mounting was cut for the U18 copied that. Maybe. I mean, the whole PVD thing does feel like it's going a little bit after the Rama aesthetic. You know, I don't think anyone would deny that. Especially the whole packaging and unboxing and everything else as well, which is really nice, guys. I've got to admit, the whole packaging and unboxing experience is really nice. That's genuinely a nice thing on this board. The question becomes: is the keyboard worth it itself? And $700 is a lot of money for a board. Okay, almost done with lubing the stems on these stabilizers. Sorry, the wires on these stabilizers. Then we're going to go back and lube the stems now. So I'm going to just clean off the brush, make sure we've got very little lube on there, and then we're just going to paint a thin amount on the side of the slider rails. Okay. It's very common to see someone actually buy a really expensive board as their first and have absolutely no idea what they're doing with it. Do you know what? I'm sure it is, and I'm sure I'll be frustrated to see that a lot of the time. But I mean, I wouldn't ever want to gatekeep and tell people what they can and can't do. But that doesn't seem like the right thing to do in my head. This board is $700 retail. Yeah, it was for me, Cohen, shipped to my door from Mode 80. It was $700.87 plus UK import fees, which is 20% on that $700. So I'll let you do the math on what that is in British pounds. I can compromise on packaging if the board's better. Absolutely. Yeah, 20% tax, and that's on the shipping cost as well. It's not just on the board cost, it's 20% on the whole value of the shipment. As I say, I just wanted to see what the board. I saw quite a few people getting hold of these and building them on streams. Whilst I didn't watch any of the streams, I was keen to see for myself just whether the board's worth the money or not. Okay, stabilizers are lubed. Okay. From the sound test I heard, this board definitely has a unique sound. I haven't listened to any sound tests for this board, so yeah. Whatever $708.87 plus 20% UK import costs stocks are, that's what it cost me. Yeah, plus the 14 quid for parcel force. Okay, now it's time to put the stabilizers in place. So let's get these little washers out and some screws. Hopefully I've got enough washers and screws here. Okay. Find the right screwdriver for this. Nope. There we go. Okay. Well, that didn't want to stay in. Okay, interestingly, the holes are slightly not big enough for the C3 stabilizers. Okay, I think we're going to have to do one at a time here. We shouldn't actually have to use the washers here as well. just because we're not touching any components. Remember guys, when you're tightening up like this, you just want to go finger tight. You don't want to go overly tight and risk damaging your PCB or your stabilizer. So just want to go finger tight with this kind of stuff. Feels like an even bigger slap in the face to pay Parcel Force after you paid £150 in fees. Yeah, man. Parcel Force are not my favourite courier. Okay, that's that one in. Now we're going to put the ANSI enter in. Again, the holes are just not quite big enough for these C3 stabs. Especially when Royal Mail charge literally half the amount for the same thing. Dude, like, they're the same company as well, which I know you mentioned, and it's kind of frustrating that they do charge that much. I have no idea what the standard edition costs, Robo. I only know what I paid for this one. Okay, that's those two stabilizers in place. Now for the shift key. And this is where I'm going to have to open up that second pack of screws after this, I think. The routing on the PCB is nice though, because it means that there's no areas whereby I'm going to have to use a washer for these screws. Well, so far I haven't encountered that. They're all completely away from any other switch pin, or there's no LED pins on this or anything else, but you know, there's just nothing else there to get caught on. Yeah, I have no idea what other versions of this board cost. This is the first edition, and this is the only one I've paid for, so. Big thumbs up. What's the thumbs up for, Stux? I remember getting 12 quid import with Parcel Force, 24 quid for now. Oh, interestingly, this other pack uses a Phillips screwdriver. Come on. Interesting how C3 include two different types of screws with their stabs these days. But as long as they work, it doesn't matter. Okay, and then now we're going to put the 7U spacebar in place. Hey Jake, I assume you mean Jay rather than Jake. How do I keep track of the parts I've ordered? Parts for what? If you mean group buy boards, I don't keep track of everything that I've bought at all. I just don't keep track. It's as simple as that. Like I just don't keep track. I don't even keep track of everything I own, if I'm honest. Okay, so almost there now. There we go. Right, let's put these washers away. And then let's see how the plate looks when it sits on top. I mean, that just feels weird. Look at these gaps around stabilizer. It just feels strange. This is the dark colorway of the first edition Zuba. Okay, time to get some switches in and see what we've got. Let's pop a couple into the plate first and then into the PCB. See how they hold. Again, can't put too much pressure on this when I build it because I have to pick it up to put the pressure on so I don't snap the JST connector. It's very precarious on the bottom there. Okay. Those are some nice screwdriver boys. Thanks, man. Yeah, I bought them as a treat for myself a couple of weeks ago. It was a treat for getting made redundant. Okay. I don't think there's any drama behind it, Luke Lex. I was just interested to see personally what the board was like. I saw a few other streamers were gifted some, and I wanted to be able to give a completely open and honest review, so I bought one. And here we are. I'm all for people trying new things in the hobby, and the fact that they had these boards all in stock from day one was really impressive. So let's see what it transpires as that means in terms of quality of board. Okay, we're going to go with stepped caps lock as always, because I don't like to use anything other than stepped caps lock. Okay, we can now start to just fill the board up with the switches. There were some people on Facebook complaining it was too expensive and getting judgy without really doing research. I mean, it's a very expensive board. This was $700 shipped, plus UK import fees, which are no fault of the board sellers or designers, so I can't include those in the cost. But $700 is mighty expensive for a board. And whilst I appreciate there's a lot of PVD gone into it, there's no mounting system as such. It just rests on foam. Now the Mode guys were kind enough to send me an extra plate and PCB assembly, including an FR4 plate, which is the one we're building with today. And they also sent me some keycaps as well, which I'll show later on. But the board itself was all paid for by myself. Step caps lock and French purse icon is my fave. Yeah, I don't dislike the purse icon. It looks really good in muted. It fits that set really well. Okay. Still really intrigued by the idea to put the components for the PCB on top of the PCB next to the switches rather than underneath. And I think that the only reason that they've done that is for the mounting style, as Flexman pointed out in chat earlier on. Okay, almost there with the switches now. Okay, slightly bent pin there. Jay, can you recommend some silent muted linears that aren't the typical silent switches, if you know what I mean? I don't really like silent switches, or I don't really even like quiet switches. I mean, you can make any switch a little bit quieter by just drowning it in lube, putting foam in the board and things like that. It's not really my style. But yeah, I think I just put foam in the board. If I wanted it to be quieter, rather than use any silent style switch, I would just put foam in it. How do you like the C3 stabs? I don't really use C3 stabs very often. They're okay. I think I prefer Duroc Bang for Buck right now, but C3 stabs are okay. They're not terrible. Whoops, switch on the floor. Hopefully we'll have enough without that one. It's going to be close. Okay, so we're going to go 1.5, 1.5, and then 1. Is that right? I think that's right. I think that's how they go. It'll be fine. We'll be fine. And then 1.5. 0.5, and then 1. Is that right there? I think that last one's just in the wrong spot. I might need to put keycaps on to just double check this. I think that looks okay. Okay, silent switches sound like a schlop. They do, yeah. This could be a good stab tester board. Like, I'm not sure I like the idea of the stabilizers being as wide open as this. I really don't think it will sound particularly good. My left alt. Yes, you are right. It is in the wrong place. You are spot on, good sir. Thank you very much for that. Wait, no, 1.5. No, that is right. That is right. Let's get some keycaps out and test. Which is a good segue into talking about the keycap set that they've sent me. So they have sent me this this keycap set here, which is, as you can see, it's called Dark Mode. Now, it's by TKC and Infinity, which is basically just white on black. And I think they're doing a black on white version as well. Yeah, just a standard black on white set. These are reverse die subs. Whoops. Up if the box came apart. And it does come with a couple of accent keys as well. So yeah, let's see if we've got these in the right place. We might be incorrect in some places, so we can soon check. There's spacebar. And then we have got control. The super keys or the win keys are called mode keys on this set. Okay, so we've got that all in the right place, so we can just move that over quickly. Try not to scratch the plate. There we go. And then we've got control, which is also in the wrong place, I think. Let's just have a look. Tell I don't build TKLs very often. So yeah, this is in the wrong place. We just need to move that over one. I think I have this whole side slightly wrong. Wait, no, that was correct. That was right. That is in the right spot. That is 100% in the right spot. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? That is correct. It's this key and the other key that need to move over. Just like so. There we go. And move this key over, and then we're good to solder. There we go. Okay, cool. So that bottom row is now all correct. I'm not going to leave these keycaps out because we're probably not going to use this keycap set. I think we're actually going to use a GMK set, but you guys will get to vote for that towards the end of the stream. Some of the other PCBs in place. Like the thing that throws you off with this plate is all of the open gaps. It's no real excuse, but hey, it is what it is. Whoops, that was the box making the noise, not me. There we go. Okay, so everything is ready. Everything is good to solder. So now, guys, we've come to that time of the stream where you can ask me any question that you like. Box fart. Yeah, pardon me. Excuse me. Excuse the box. So whilst I'm soldering, guys, what I like to do is open it up to questions on the floor. Basically, you can tag me and you can ask any question you like. As long as it's stream safe and as long as I feel comfortable answering it, I will answer it. You can ask me about life, love, cars, movies, TV shows, the space race, you name it, I will answer it. You just have to ask and tag me with @TopClack to ask the question. Whatever question you like, you can go away, you can ask it now. And all the time I'm soldering, I will try and answer as many of those questions as I can. So get your questions in now, guys. Just tag me with @TopClack. Ask away. Does not have to be keyboard related. It can be related to anything you like. And I'll just solder a couple of switches in first, just to make sure everything's nice and steady. And then I will answer your questions. Okay. Okay, just going to solder a couple of switches in the center of the board. And then away we go. Okay, questions. Thoughts on GMK Alpine? I really like Alpine. I think it looks pretty good. It's nice. It's muted. I like the novelties on there. I think it's going to do really well in group buy. Yeah, GMK Alpine, good set, winner for me. Yeah, big fan. I think it's probably already underrated. I think. Okay, next question comes from Pio. It says, will you please send me and Brian some Iron Brew? Makes Washington Scottish again. So Brian hates it. Like last time I came out to the States, I took some with me. Brian was not a fan, but I am more than happy to send you some, dude. If you PM me your address, I will send you some. That is not a problem at all. If you want to be Scottish and have Iron Brew, we'll make that happen. Pratt Penguino says, how do you go about producing your own custom FR4 plates? I get someone who's more intelligent than I am to make them for me. So anyone who knows how to do PCB design should be able to help you out with an FR4 plate. FR4 is basically a PCB that just doesn't have components on it. So yeah, anyone who can help you with PCB design will be able to help you with that. Or you could follow the KiCad tutorials by AIO3 and others that are out there and use those as inspiration to learn how to do it yourself. Vogon PT says Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader. Grand Admiral Thrawn would be my choice rather than those two. Probably not the best characters in the book, in like the series, the books, the movies, whatever. if I had to pick one or the other, I think I'd pick Darth Vader. Great character, scary the first time you see him, empowering, towered, great voice, James Earl Jones. I would probably pick that over the whiny young brat that is Luke Skywalker. What's the wife's daily occupation, says Luke Alex. My wife works in events, so she was very much an event manager, event planner, that kind of thing. COVID severely impacted that, and she was made redundant towards the middle of the year, just after starting a new job as well. She's since found more work. She's doing some contracting, program management work now. It starts next month, so yeah, she does that kind of stuff. She's very good at what she does, and I'm very proud of her for finding another job in these difficult times. If you could listen to music from one and only one decade, what would it be? The 70s. Absolutely the 70s. Some of the greatest music in the world happened in the 70s. Like, you've got the end of the punk movement, you've got, you know, the start of Queen, you've got the start of the Red Hot Chilies, um, you've got Joy Division, you've got so many good bands back then. 70s is probably where I think music was at its most creative, and I would probably pick the 70s. Flower QT says, excluding your own designs, what do you think is the best looking keyboard? I'm a really, really big fan of the OGR by James AKB. I think that is quite possibly one of the prettiest keyboards I've ever seen. And I've been lucky enough to see the prototype in real life as well. Heavily vintage inspired and absolutely beautiful to boot. I think in terms of some of the other boards I really like the look of, you've got the PC Dollinger. I think that looks absolutely stunning with those side curves and everything else. And then I do have a board that's coming that is rather special as well. Not for what it is, but for what's been done to it. Maybe we'll show that on stream at some point. Shansel says, what's your favorite tactile and why is it Zycos? I don't mind Zycos. Like, I really don't dislike Zycos. They're just a lot of work. They're a lot of work and they're tiring to use. I think if I had to pick a tactile for daily use, day in, day out, I would probably just pick a Zelio V2. I know that's a boring answer. I get it, but that's the truth. That's what I would pick. Apologies to Augusto. He says, I just joined this, so may have been answered directly. Was this a first edition 80 or a regular 80? It's a first edition. Maddie1 says, any upcoming group buy that you're excited for? Probably dozens. Like, there are so many good group buys coming. I couldn't even name them all. The Ayla from James AKB is high up there on my want list. In terms of keycap sets, so many. Blurple that went into IC a few weeks ago, that looks really, really good. Really big fan of that. Deepwell as well. Big fan of those two sets that are coming up. Phantom Taco and Tyson, respectively. So yeah, lots and lots of stuff coming up. Like, there's so much stuff. Geist looks amazing. I'm not sure if it's for me, but I think it looks really good, and I'm excited to see the group buy do well. I'm a fellow Virgo owner. I got the POM plate and FR4 plate. I was thinking POM with morphs to try out first. Thoughts? Go for it, man. I haven't tried a POM plate in my Virgo, but now I've got the laser machine all up and working. I can cut my own POM plates, which is really nice. I can go from having an idea of having a POM plate to having one in just a few minutes, which is really good. So yeah, try it, man. And if you don't like it, you can just build the other one. No losses there, and morph switches are really good. I used them last week, and I've been kind of enjoying them in the Juby, which is just there. Okay. Kaizen says, you don't happen to own OG die subs. I do. ISO DE die subs. Yes, I've got 4 or 5 sets, but I don't have any for sale, I'm afraid, now. ISO D die subs are relatively easy to come by. You shouldn't be paying more than 70 or 80 euros for a set, really. They're relatively easy to find. Yeah, if you need help finding some, I might be able to help you with that, but I don't have any to sell, I'm afraid. Is the Iron 180 build coming soon? Yes, so the board is on its way to me. It should arrive tomorrow or Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday. It should arrive here at the warehouse. And then I'll do the build stream as soon as I can afterwards. I've also got Percent Studio sending me a Skog RE to build on stream, which we'll be giving away at some point as well, because they're giving it to me for free, so I'll give it away and pay it forwards. So yeah, so interested to see when that comes along as well. So a couple more builds quite quickly. In terms of my personal build queue, I've got a few boards left to go. I want to rebuild the Petrichor. I've got a Lin Montage to build. I've got a Polycarbonate LZ ST to build. I've got my Keycult number 2 to build. What else have I got? I've got a Duck Viper that I've had for like 5 years to build, the V2 in black. I definitely need to build that at some point. I want to rebuild my Royal 66 from Punchy Studios. I've got an ANSI rebuild to do at some point as well, because I'm keen to rebuild that board and use it again. What else? I've just got, I don't even know. I've got my own personal JO2s, which I haven't built as yet, so I do need to build them at some point as well. I think I've got 2 of those, or 3. I think I'm going to send one to Stash to build boards, because Stash is a really great guy. So I think I'm going to send one to him to build. And of course, then I've got a few boards on the way as well, or coming soon. You can follow that to convert DRXF to FFO. Nice. MK47I says, has becoming a vendor changed your perspective on the hobby? And are you worried about how Brexit might affect prototypists? So that's probably 2 questions in one. First one first. It's not really changed my perspective on the hobby, but it's probably given me a newfound appreciation for the people in the hobby. Getting to speak to so many people on a daily basis and helping their stuff come true is great. In terms of Brexit, we don't really know how it's going to go. Like, obviously it's a worry, but Prototypist is more than just proxying stuff. We have so many different things that we do, like the JO1 series. We've got some other group buys coming up soon. I've got a whole raft of boards I want to produce myself. That, like, proxying doesn't have to be the thing that drives the company, and certainly isn't. Like, I don't do this for money. I don't get paid to do Prototypist. It's not like a for profit thing in terms of lining my own pockets. I don't pay myself a penny for it. I just do it because I love it and I want to help share stuff with people. Like, I take no salary, no payment, nothing like that. So the way it may go is that there's a whole raft of rule changes, and irrespective of what happens with Brexit, from July next year, any country in the world, or any seller in the world that wants to sell to the UK will have to start collecting VAT at the point of sale and having a VAT presence here in the UK. So there's a potential opportunity there to maybe do smaller numbers and proxy more sets but fewer key sets for it. If Brexit, we come across a deal and VAT is still fine across the whole of the EU, then things will just continue as they are. It's kind of an unknown. Like, we don't know what we don't know, and until we know that, I can't really make any decisions. So it'll be what it'll be. That's the simple bottom line of it. As long as there's enough to pay the prototypist bills and to keep the warehouse going, then prototypist will continue. Simple as that. Have you sold your red Zeal 60 yet, or what? You mean my Zephyr? I haven't sold it, Mr. Petrov. No, it's sat in a drawer in the warehouse. Coinsum says, where can I get a fat tub of 205 like the one you have to the right? I bought that directly from Miller Stevenson, who are the provider for Krytox lubricants in the UK. I think you need to have a business to be able to purchase from them. I don't think you can do it as an individual. Speaking about parcels, is there something other than the usual 3-day box quarantine from shipments from the UK at the minute that you know of, Jay? I'm getting a Bowser and Walkins PX7 from Amazon, and that ships from the UK. So, as far as I know, there is no 3-day box quarantine from the UK. Like everything just ships and it goes out. Now, the way I package stuff is obviously here I use PPE gear and everything else. I'm wearing a mask. I'm wearing gloves while I'm packaging stuff up. And then the parcels usually sit for 24 hours before they ship out. But like after that point, that's as far as I can control it, and I imagine that's the same for a lot of sellers. So I think as long as when you get the parcel, you put it somewhere safe and don't touch it for a couple of days. Make sure you're wearing PPE gear while you do it. I think you'll be okay. You can also put it under ultraviolet light. That will kill any germs as well. It just depends on how safe you want to be and how much you want to risk it. Luke Alex says, "Is it true that the JO5 is a 124 key battle station?" No comment. Smudge says, "Any advice on general life for someone like me who's turning 18 on Wednesday? Enjoy yourself, man. Enjoy your youth while you have it. The one thing that goes fastest in life is youth, and you won't realize the benefit of what youth has to you until after it's long gone. So make the most of it. Your body is like this amazing thing that you can do so many different things with, and as you get older your capacity to be able to do those things reduces, and I'm starting to notice that now at my age at 35. Look after your body and do the most you can with it. Be active, go around and do whatever you can, enjoy life, experience things. Don't worry too much about the little things. Like, the little things will just take care of themselves. They'll just happen. That's how life works. All of the little things just get done. The work will happen. The work will get done. It's fine. But concentrate on the big things, the important things. Make friendships. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid to live and love. Don't be afraid of changing up what you do and starting a new career. Do whatever you think is right. Go by your heart. Live by your heart. That would be my advice. If I could go back, there are some things I would change, and that's probably what I would do. Okay, so we've built. Which color for the 180? I've got a gran color. There we go. Is this Jay from Prototypist? Yes, sir, it is. Yes, this is me. Hello. This is the Prototypist warehouse, although the warehouse is outside of this room. Prillasex says, "Do you have any predictions on what's going to be the next trend in custom keyboard designs, or do you think we'll be seeing more variations of the same things?" I think that gasket mount will start to deteriorate a little bit, and we'll see a lot of people going back to good old tried and tested top mount. I think that's a thing that we will see. I think we'll see some more out there designs in terms of case designs. We've seen a lot come from the Chinese sector, things like the Matrix Noah and stuff like that. I think Western designers will start to pick up on that and start to produce cases with badges and affectations more so than what they do today. And I think those will be the two big trends for the next 6 months or so. Is left switch, shift switch still missing? Yes, I haven't put it in yet. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yes, I need to put that in. But that's okay, because I have a switch just here that's going to sit right there. And here you go. That switch is now soldered in. There we go. Still saddens me to see the UK go. Yeah, it saddens me as well, man. Saddens me as well. Is the bottom of this board steel or brass or aluminium? I think it's just aluminium as far as I'm aware. It's just PVD coated. What would mean the JO5 is competing with the Parallax for my wallet? The JO5 doesn't exist. It's not happening yet, guys. It doesn't exist. In before Jay figures out there's a switch missing. I knew there was a switch missing. I knew there was a switch missing. I noticed when I flipped the board over it was missing. It's fine. I usually let parcel boxes sit for 3 days a week until I touch them. That's what I meant by quarantine. But all right. Okay, yeah, do the same thing. Just keep doing the same thing, man. Creaky knees at 35. Hips, man. It's the hips. My right hip in the morning, that doesn't want to move. He knows, and he knows it's bothering. Maybe, Zui, maybe. Don Bros, hey man, good to see you. OCD high now. There we go. Jason says, adopt me. No, I'm not adopting anyone, man. I'd make a terrible, terrible father. Make top mount great again. Build a wall of cubes. Yeah, I think top mount's going to come back. More plateless. Yeah, more plateless would be good. I agree that. Cohen says top mount is superior. Man, maybe I agree. Maybe. I don't know. What's the best magnet mount board that's coming next? As far as I know, there's like 9 or 10 in the works at the minute. I would not want to say which is the best is. Step caps is the left hole, not the right one on the PCB, right? Yes. So if you've got caps lock here, you've got 2 switch points. You can go here, that's stepped, or you can go here, and that's full caps lock. That's the difference. Right. Okay. Okay. I think we've got through the questions. Will there be a future rerun for the Jero one? Nothing planned. Maybe after the extras sell and the group buy's done. Do you think O-Ring will pop up more often too? I think O-Ring is kind of a niche thing still. I think there's more to be done with it, but whether it'll happen more, don't know. We'll see. I disagree on that one, Cohen. I don't like aluminium plates too much. I prefer plastic plates or non-metal plates personally. But hey, the whole beauty of this hobby is that we all have different opinions, right? Zephyr says, "Why? Why what? Why what? I don't know what you mean." If you had to impress a girl by showing her one keyboard on the planet, which would it be? Asking for a friend. It's got to be the Model M, right? Something chunky, something massive that just has a huge presence on your desk. It's kind of thick. It's kind of sturdy. That's what I think I'd go with. Something textured nicely. I'm trying to wind Petrov up. I'm trying to wind him up. I don't design anything. That's a well-established and well-known fact. Right, okay. So we finished soldering. Questions are over. Just whip out the Model M. Got it. Exactly. Exactly. Who wouldn't be impressed on Model M? Who wouldn't be? Okay. So, looks kind of neat. Looks kind of tidy. Marshmallow switches. C3 stabs. FL4 plate. Solid on the back. The back looks weird because there's no components. They're all in between. So if this doesn't work, and I didn't test this PCB, if this doesn't work, well, I'm desoldering the whole thing. Right. Now let's take a look at how the board goes together. The first thing I'm going to do is pop the PCB and plate assembly into the housing. And that goes like that. That sits like that. Okay. It sits on the gaskets. I can feel it resting on the gaskets. There's a little bit of movement in there. If you watch by this pin here, there is a tiny bit of movement there. Look. Let's see how it does. Next thing we need to do is pop in the daughter board. Top bezel so huge, just aesthetics. It's literally just aesthetics. Yeah, that's why they've done it. That was the design choice that they wanted to go for, and that's what they did. Model M is overrated, hot take. Hey man, stop stealing my lines. Okay, it would help if I got the right size screwdriver. Okay. It's not that big, it's nice. Can't wait for mine this week.
Ooh, very nice.
Ooh, very nice. Thank you very much for the subscription, man. Some say he does, Mr. Petrov. Some say that Cohen Romans is the type tester. Some also say other things about him, but I won't repeat those here. Okay. So now we need to put the JST cable in. I'm very, very conscious that this is a very, very, very small cable. Okay. I would like a longer JST cable, I think. That is definitely something I would like. In fact, we're going to have to line this up now. Okay, that's all lined up onto the base. And then what we need to do now is we need to drop the front edge. Whoops, help if we didn't nudge it like so. And we need to drop the front edge into the clippy bits. Like so. I mean, that's really tight there. Like, you have to squeeze that to shut it. Like, that feels weird. Like, I'm absolutely compressing that foam by doing that. I'm not sure I like that. So basically what we've done is we've tucked the lips underneath the edge here. So that's what we've done. You see if I pull this up and out slightly, there's like little lips, and what we're going to do is we're going to tuck that inside the case. So that sits on the inside of the case. And then what we're going to do is we're going to push it down to mount it. But then what we're doing is we're compressing the foam, and that's really tight. Like, I have to put a ton of pressure on that to get it to close. Like, that doesn't feel right. That does not feel at all right. Let's take another look at this. Like, there's got to be a better way. Like, it just doesn't feel right. It does not feel like we're doing the right thing here. But it's the only way it's going to go. So let's just try tightening these screws down and see if this will hold together. Like, this feels like it's putting way too much pressure on these screws. It just feels like there's a lot of pressure on these screws.
Ooh, very nice.
Thank you very much, Iwade. Thank you very much for the subscription, dude. Appreciate that. Okay, so the board is together. I'm not sure how I feel about having to tighten it like that. Like, that just felt like I was having to way over tighten it. Like, way too much. But there we go. It's together. It's now time to pick a keycap set. And I'm going to leave this open to chat. So let me grab a poll up, because we can put one of two things on there. We can put the mode key set, which is basically just die sub white and black, which we saw earlier on. This is just the Infinity mode set, PBT set, so we can put that on. That's one option. The other option is we could go with something GMK. We could go with Bingsu. So those are the two key set options. Let's start the poll and see what you guys think is best to put on this board. We can either put Bingsu on, or we can put the black on white dark mode 8 keycaps. You guys pick your choice. Let me know. Expensive, imperfect, blemish gets dirty easily. Sounds like me, dude. Sounds like me. There's a lot of pressure. It's okay. Yeah, it's tight on them screws, man. It's tight on them screws. Follow the GIF you sent me in Discord. I think I have followed that. Like, I haven't seen the GIF. Let me have a look. Yep, that's how I put it together. Yeah, I do like the idea of having it tucked underneath the ledge, but I'm not a fan of how much pressure you need to put on there, because basically what you're doing here is you're turning a standard keyboard and you're just basically laying it on foam. All you're doing is you're putting the PCB and the plate assembly on foam and then putting pressure on it to hold it together. That doesn't feel like it's a proper mounting solution. Yeah, I can see in the GIF you have to put a bit of pressure on to get it to fit. Like, it just feels a little bit weird. Let's see how the poll's doing. Well, Bingsu is storming ahead in the lead here. I did say I'd give chat the choice. The Bingsu box looks delicious. Let's use Bingsu. Yeah, well, you guys are voting for it. You guys are voting for it. I hear you have an OGR somewhere in that room. I don't have an OGR. I wish I did. I wish I did. I wish I did. Dark mode out of curiosity. Yeah, lots of people say Bingsu.
Nice.
Thank you very much, Tim Tamale. Thank you very much for the subscription. I very much appreciate that, my man. Thank you. You need to vote in the poll at the top, guys. That's where you vote. 37-5 at the moment in favor of Bingsu. So you've got about a minute left to make your votes, guys. Is the OGR in a different room? There is no OGR in the Prototypist Warehouse, which is where I am right now. There is no OGR here. Like, full stop. There is no OGR here. I think there might be a mini 3D printed one, but that's the closest we'll get to it. There is no OGR here. Maybe at his home. No, there isn't an OGR at my house either. I don't own an OGR and I don't have one. I have used one. I have typed on James's, but I don't have one. Don't have one. Where is the OGR? It's with James. He's the designer. It's his board. He owns it. The only one that exists is with him. I feel like every stream I've watched for the past 3 months ends in Bingsu or Mizu. I've never had Bingsu on stream before, so it's first for me. She wants things he can't have, like a true whale. Is that why he wants me? That makes sense. Okay, there we go, guys. Bingsu won with 40 votes to 8, so 48 votes. 40 of those, 83% went to Bingsu. So that is what we're going to be using today on the board. So no more dark mode. Dark mode is just the white and black Infinity set that we talked about earlier on. That's made by Mode in conjunction with TKC. Okay. Gotta love these new GMK trays, man. These new GMK trays are something else. Mode has 2 different Discords. I didn't know that. Ubi, you need to give me an update on where that package is as well. I would love to know if the space is warped on the Infinity set. The 7U I put on here wasn't warped when I put it on, so I don't think they are. Infinity sets tend to be okay with spacebar warp. There's a few sets. Obviously, any PBT set is going to have the potential for having a warped spacebar or warped any key. To be honest, that's greater than 2U. But yeah, it's something they're getting better on. And at least the packaging doesn't do this. I like how the I165FE is always in the stream. It's always tucked away here somewhere, thereabouts, yeah. Okay. DHL says it'll be there tomorrow. Excellent. Thank you, dude. I shall get the packages off to the respective people as soon as they arrive at my door. I'll get them out the same day if I can. Or at the very worst, the next day. Man, you gotta love these GMK trays that keep keycap sets so neatly organized. Like, it's just very impressive. Just joined. Does Mode 80 not support ISO? It does not support ISO. No, there is no ISO support on this board. There is no ISO support on the PCB. There is no ISO support on the plate. But the plates are kind of weird, and that's whilst I know the reason behind it to be able to get your stabs in and out, I still remain to be convinced that that's a good thing. Call me skeptical until proven otherwise. How do you like this compared to other TKLs, and what are your thoughts on the pricing of the first edition? Well, I'll be completely honest. I'll give my honest thoughts after I've finished building the board up and using it in a few minutes' time. Yeah, I'm not gonna like say things that I don't think or lie or anything like that. I'm gonna give you my completely honest and unabashed opinions on the board in a few minutes' time. I think it's important that I build it first and just make sure I'm comfortable with how it's put together, and then we'll do a bit of a typing test, and then I'll be giving some honest breakdowns of my thoughts. Okay, almost there for the keycap set now, guys. Almost there. Step caps is the next modifier that we need. And then we need the 7U bottom row. We're going to go Control, and then Alt, then Alt, and then Control. We've got 7U spacebar. It's just going to sit nicely in there. And then we need the 2 super keys for just there and there. Okay, so keycaps done. Let me put them to a sec. There is the board built, guys. This is the Mode 80 Dark Edition TKL with GMK Bingsu. Show you side profile. Nice and simple. The base has got covered in fingerprints while we built it, but there you go. You can see that it's the PVD. You can see that it does have one permanent streak that runs all the way up the center of the board. You can see that just here. That's a flaw in the PVD finish that's across the whole board. The gasket feet work great though, I've got to be honest. So let's break it down. Let's talk about the good parts and the bad parts about the board before we do the sound test. So good parts: the PVD is pretty high quality. There is the one line that runs all the way down the center, which I showed you guys earlier on stream. It's really difficult to show you, but it does exist. It's kind of like a line that runs all the way down here, and that's something that won't buff out of the PVD finish. But other than that, it's high quality PVD. The rest of the board, from the top, it kind of looks like standard TKL. The top bezel is a little bit thicker, which is a design affectation. There's no other thought behind it than that, as far as I can tell. It's just a design choice. It's not something that changes the way the board's built or anything else. The side profile is nice and clean. The case itself is pretty good quality. It's machined nicely. It's put together nicely. There are some machining marks on the inside, but again, they're on the inside. They're not on the outside. All of the other parts on the outside, the bezels, chamfers, everything else looks good. Don't see any issues with it. Keycap fitment is nice. It's nice and tight. It's not going to catch anywhere. It looks good.
Ooh, very nice.
Thank you very much for the 8 months of subscriptions, Rabbit. Thank you very much, dude. Twitch partner when? We're not applying for partnership. We don't want to be partners. No need for it, as far as we can tell. So yeah, so there we go. Talk about the mount system. So the mount system is basically the PCB rests on some foam on the inside of the case. Personally, I'm not a fan of this. Like, I dislike that. I think that this board would probably be better if it was a top mount board. But then again, given the high price, $700.87 it was shipped to me plus UK import fees. I probably paid somewhere in the region of like 700 British pounds or about $800 for it in the end. It's expensive. It's expensive. So there we go. I don't earn any money from streaming. Like, don't earn any money from streaming. So there we go. In terms of the rest of the board, the PCB is kind of weird. I think I know why they've done it, and the guys are in chat so they can confirm if not or otherwise. I'm not going to tell them my opinions just because the mode guys are in chat. Right? I'm going to be brutally honest. I paid for the board. I'm giving my honest opinions. The PCB has the components on the top side of the PCB, which is where the switches sit, which is in counter intuition compared to every other PCB you guys might have seen, where the components are on the underneath of the PCB. And I think they've done that purely because the PCB rests on the foam, as Flexman pointed out earlier on. And you don't want to dislodge them against the foam or cause any issues there, so they put them on the other side. But that does give you a big problem. If you have a diode that blows or breaks, or you need to replace it, or anything else, you have to desolder the entire board and resolder it back together. So you have to bear that in mind. Overall, I think the packaging was lovely as well. Just talk about the packaging. I think the packaging was really good. I don't like the design of the plate. I think that we haven't done a sound test yet, so I might be wrong on this. I might be proven wrong. But if I am, I will eat my hat. Not literally, but figuratively speaking. I think that these cutouts here are going to make the sound bad. I get that it makes it easier for beginners to replace the stabilizers. I understand that. But I still think that it's a bad thing to have these huge cutouts. I appreciate that the FR4 plate doesn't have the same large cutouts, but it's still got chunky ones. I think that you still need a switch cutout that goes around the switch, irrespective of how big the plate cutouts are for the stabs or otherwise. I think you still need to make sure that you have switch cutouts and you have material in there. That lack of material does two things, especially on a board like this where there's no true mounting solution. One, it weakens this area here and here, and secondly, it's going to affect the sound of those keys in a negative fashion, I think. But that will be proven in the sound test shortly. At least on north and south the clipping switches. Whoa, what are we talking about here? Imagine not being able to spell Gilbert. Nice. I thought the stream had glitched, so how the board looks weird. It's just the plate. It's just the plate that we're talking about here. I didn't notice the foam. Yeah, so the foam's on top because this presses up against the top case. I can see why that's there, and that's relatively easy to fit, especially on the FR4 plate we used. So Mode's come back and said he talks about plateless boards about 30 minutes ago. So I think having no plate is very different to having open cutouts. I think those are two very different things. I don't think you can compare them. Having a plateless board is one thing, and that's a good thing sometimes, depending on if the board is designed for it. The key to designing a keyboard is to design it around a mounting system. You don't design it and then chuck a mounting system in at the last minute. You design how you're going to mount the board, and then you build everything else around it, and you adjust the rest of the board around it. This isn't really a mounting solution in itself. It's just resting it on a bit of foam, and then having the cutout in the plates, you're going to have a very different sound profile between these keys and these keys, and the idea is to try and make these keys sound as close to these keys as possible. Usually people do that by making sure that the plate is nicely attached to those switches, or in the term of a plateless one, they're all plateless, so you get a plateless build. But the plateless build then is designed around feel, not around sound, which is what this is going to affect negatively. So they're two very different things. Okay, so I guess the next thing to do is to do a bit of a sound test and see what this thing sounds like. Let's give it a try and see what it sounds like, because I'm interested to see how this sounds. Okay, so the first thing I just want to call out around these switches with the larger holes around. I know this keys are louder and they're bigger, but you can hear a difference even between these two where there's no plate around it. I get the keys are slightly bigger, but it's the closest comparator we've got. Even if I put a 1U keycap on there, it wouldn't be a true test because it's going to have more space around it and everything else. But I think that this does sound very different because there is no plate around it compared to the rest of the board. So there we go. So I think that's the first thing I want to call out. Let's do a bit of a typing test and see how it comes out. Okay, interesting. Okay, so let's turn the music back on and have a little chat. Let's have a little chat. Okay, so first things first, it doesn't sound terrible. Like, it doesn't sound bad. Like, I've not put the foam in between the plate and the PCB. I think it would sound very different if I put the aluminium plate in here, and there's two reasons for that. One, we've got a ton of foam underneath the plate and PCB assembly, and that does affect how that sounds. FR4 as a plate material brings kind of like its own sound profile as well, which tends to make boards louder because of the type of material it is. It's a dense plastic at the end of the day, so it tends to sound louder. It's like plastic on plastic. So I think with the aluminium plate, or if you put POM in here, or FR4, or carbon fiber, or something else, it's going to change the sound profile. I don't think it sounds bad, but I do think there's a big disparity between the modifier keys and the alpha keys. I think there's a huge difference between them, and that's partially due to the cutouts. I think if I was going to replace the plate in this, personally, what I would do is I would make sure that the plate actually encapsulated the key switches as a standard plate design would do. So you would encapsulate all of the switches around here like you would here, and just have cutouts for the stabs in the traditional way. I think that would be a big improvement to the plate. The second thing, let's talk about the mounting system. Like, for me, if you're going to mount something in a keyboard, you have to have some sort of system of holding it in place and positioning it. In terms of how this board is designed and put together, it's basically resting the PCB and plate assembly onto some foam. I think there are better ways of doing it than that. Like, it's fine if you want to use foam, it's fine if you want to have foam compressed underneath the PCB and plate. I think that this would sound nicer if it was a top mount board. If you actually screwed the plate to the top of the case, I think that would give this board a much better sound profile. Simple enough as just some simple tabs in the relevant areas to hold it in place. There's thick enough bezels on this board to absolutely do that if you wanted to do it, and I think that would potentially be a big improvement. I'd like to see if there's a mode 81 or whatever the sequel is. I think that would be the big improvement. In terms of, is the board worth it? I mean, value is really, really subjective when it comes to this hobby. Like, it's almost impossible to be objective when it comes to value. This board was $700.87. That's what I paid for it. The mode guys were really, really kind. They sent me an extra plate and PCB assembly, and they also sent me some dark mode keycaps. These are the Infinikey white on black keycaps I showed you earlier. That's hugely, hugely nice of them, and I really, really do appreciate them sending me some freebies with the board. At the same time, like, to work out, is it justified in terms of the price? Like, the PVD is good quality. There's no doubting that. There is one blemish that runs the length of the board. I think that's just due down to the process they've used to do the PVD. Everything is machined to a high quality. The gaskets are cut nicely, and the gaskets are some of the nicest I've used, and the feet are some of the nicest I've used. The packaging is nice. It feels like a Rama board in terms of the way it's packaged and the way it's potentially partially designed. But at the same time, it feels like, and this is going to sound overly negative, I think, but you can have a high-end car that's built out of high-end parts, and you can have like a standard car that's built out of high-end parts, but that doesn't make it a high-end car. And I feel like this is where that board sits. It kind of sits juxtaposed in the middle of kind of like the range. I can see where the price is coming from, having manufactured my own boards. I think for me, I would drop the PVD, just do standard colors, and reduce the price to somewhere in the region of $450. I think that would be a good price point for this board, with some good improvements. Such as changing the mounting system. I hesitate to call this a mounting system. It's just a mounting solution rather than a system. It's just drop it on some foam. It doesn't feel like it's been designed around that. It feels like it's just being done. I think that this is very much in that $450 region in terms of value, but I appreciate the PVD drives that up, and I'm not unhappy that I spent $700 on this, let's put it that way. But I think for me, I think very much I'd keep it into that kind of price range. And there's some definite options improvements that could be done for a second round if it was to go there in the future. And that's not me being negative, this is just me being completely honest about how I feel about the board and what my honest opinions are. I don't want to say anything other than that, but that's kind of how I position it. Let me know what you think, guys. Let's try and catch up with chat and see what you guys are saying. Sounds like the board is completely filled with foam. It does, yeah, but it is, so that's kind of it. It's muted like a brick. It's not unattractive sound, Mr. Petrov. You're absolutely right. It's not. It doesn't sound terrible, but I think it could be improved by a few things. One is fixing the plate to the top case, and the second would be ensuring that the plate actually covered the modifier keys as well. The biggest disappointment in the sound on this is the disparity between the modifier keys and the alphas. That's the biggest disappointment in the sound on this one, but it's not bad. It doesn't sound bad. I think all of our good streamers and video makers have gotten so good at modding switches that most keyboards sound pretty good. Maybe, but I tend to like to do it really honestly. Like, my mic is tuned so it picks up the high end and the low end frequencies, where a lot of other streamers just have mics that pick up just the mid range, the bassy notes and things like that. So it depends from streamer to streamer how their mic setup is, but I try to mine on the side of reality rather than on the side of professional sound. Muffled is a good way to put it, Unicorn. Yes. Okay, let's jump down. I think I'd be even more disappointed in the sound if I'd used the in-switch foam. I think it would be very much a quieter board if I'd done that. Doesn't sound like $700. I mean, that's kind of so subjective. I wouldn't want to comment on it. It's a mounting system by definition. It's okay. So let's go back. Zubat Forever says, you said that the mounting on foam is a mounting system. What Chris defines a mounting system then? I think that there needs to be some way of fixing the plate and PCB assembly. This is just a case of drop it in and compress it between two layers of foam. There doesn't seem to have been any real design gone into that in terms of like the thoughts through it, the process through it. It's a case of, how are we going to mount this board? We're just going to put some foam underneath it, which tends to be like a fallback option. If a board sounds bad, people tend to put foam underneath it to try and make it sound better. But this case, they've taken the foam as option number one, which that's what feels like kind of counterintuitive to me. Sounds better than most Rama boards. Well, again, subjective. Sounds subjective. I used Alu with creams in my build of it yesterday, and it sounds great. Nice. Yeah, okay. I think the Alu might sound better than the FR4, but again, I'm really not a fan of these switch cutouts. But just me being honest, like, everyone's got an opinion. It's different from everyone. Would isolation gasket mounts not be the same then? I'm honestly confused. So in an isolation gasket mount system, what you're doing is you're holding the plate in position by some series of tabs or all around the board, depending on how you do it, right? Okay. The PCB and the plate assembly is free to float underneath. That does two things. One, it removes pressure on the PCB, and two, it allows sound to differentiate and move around under the PCB however you see fit. And that's determined by the internal case design. What you're doing here is you're actually taking those options away and you're just putting it on top of foam. So there is no way for the sound to percolate underneath. You're not controlling that in any way, shape or form, and you're also not actually fastening the plate into the keyboard in any way, shape or form, or pinning the plate. What you're doing is you're just putting compression on the plate at the top and the PCB on the bottom, which means that all of that pressure is then taken up between the switch cutouts, between how they clip into the plate and how they press into the PCB. That's where all the pressure comes. And the fact that this plate doesn't actually adhere to, a third of the switches, That's where my start to worry comes in. That's the thing. Okay, you pay $200 premium for the PVD. Yeah, I kind of get the paying extra for the PVD. I'm not disappointed that I paid $700 for this board. Let that be clear. Okay, I'm not disappointed at that. Okay. I think there are more fun ways to spend $700 in that hobby. I mean, you pay your money, take your choice, right? That's the solution here. Like everyone's going to have a different view on it, and I'm just trying to project my view. You lose a lot of the tinny sound in the ALU of this since there is no empty space in the board. That's true. That's not necessarily a bad thing. And that's why a lot of designers and builders remote to putting foam in boards that do sound bad in the last case, because it does sound tinny. So you put some foam in there to hide the tinniness. You fill the space with something, it removes it. But that should be a choice after you've built the board. It shouldn't be the de facto method of building it, is my view. I can't understand why there is no ISO support. Again, I would also agree, especially if you're putting big cutouts like that. The reason that people say don't put ISO on a board is because you end up with big switch cutouts, and they've got big switch cutouts, so there's no reason not to support ISO. I would agree. That's absolutely true. The LZ-CLS with shelf liner and no plate mounting tabs is a similar type of mounting, basically sandwiched with foam, but LZ-CLS sounds better because the bottom case has a thick amount of metal underneath to transfer sound. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I've only ever seen one LZ-CLS, but yeah. People pay $400 for a lever to get it right away aftermarket. In-stock demands a higher price. Don't disagree. In-stock does demand a higher price. I put 5 to 10% on everything that I sell in stock on my site after the group buy. You know, I get that. But markups come to a certain point where it's viable and not viable. That's up to the individual to decide. Yeah, the plate cutouts for me, Jax. I agree. I would definitely change those. Yeah, 450, 470. That feels more better for the group buy price. I completely agree. Especially if you lose a PVD, I think that's the kind of the price point that I would go to. Yeah. I can get an in-stock Freya TKL for $329 chip. Dude, I'm tempted to get a Freya. I think they look kind of interesting. Could you use it as a defensive weapon if someone broke into your home the way you could with the U88? Yeah, it's chunky, it's solid, it's there, it's you know, it's not a light thing. Pros and cons of FR4 plates. Pro, you lose the metallic sound of a plate because it's a different material. It's a plasticky type material. FR4 is generally cheaper than aluminium because it's basically PCB material. It's generally cheaper. You can do more designs with it. So like this board had the Enig filament around the switch cutouts. You can do that rather than just having it all one color. Other than that, everything else, the World's Your Oyster, it's going to be different from person to person. Thanks for the review, Jay. Appreciate it. It's not really a review. It's just me building a board I own and giving an honest opinion on it. That's it. It's not attractive. Looks weird with a forehead. There are better alternatives that actually have a nice mounting and design. Design is in the eye of the beholder. I think it'd be nicer if the top bezel was thinner, and you could easily move. If you wanted to keep this slanted rear, you could easily move that in and still keep all of that there. You know, there are options to change the design if you wanted to do that. It's absolutely something you could do. Wish the FRO was closer to the numbers. My view on TKLs is whatever gap you have here in the vertical, you should have on the horizontal. That's just my view of it. Whatever gap that is, that should be the same gap. This is different. Again, that's a design choice and affectation. Using a dynamic mic versus condenser. Yes, Jax, you knew the words I didn't know. Thank you. I like the aesthetics of the Mode 80 personally. I like its 5-head. Nothing wrong with the 5-head if you like that. Okay, will you be getting a Vega in? That board sounds amazing. No, I didn't buy a Vega. No. Okay. I have a Heine FR4 plate in mine. Can use Jane V1 plates in this or in the Freya? I think you mean the Freya. You could try swapping the foam for neoprene foam. Might make it sound a bit deeper. It's a good shout, Cohen. You absolutely could. Yeah, I don't know what foam this is, but there are other options that you could try putting there. Yeah. How difficult is it to design an isolated gasket mount design? If you have an idea of how the mount's going to work in your head already, it's not particularly difficult. The PVD is very good. Yeah, the PVD is great. Like, I know there's fingerprints in mine because I've just built the board. The only defect I have in this is there is one horizontal line that runs all the way across the board. You can kind of just see it here, which looks like it's either rested or it's been double dipped in the tank when they've done the PVD finish. It runs from about here to about here, but it runs a straight line there. The inside of the case, the PVD, it's got the metal's been sandblasted different underneath it. Yeah, Geo, counterpoint. Yeah, you're right. You design a board for how you like it, and you buy it if you agree to it. Yeah. That all reminds me, I've never built a TKL and would quite like to. It's really tough to find any in-stock designs. To me, even more so than the 60s and 65s. Dude, there's more TKLs out there than any other board. This isn't PVD, it's chromed. Well, PVD is just vapor deposition. It's kind of a similar way of chroming. It's a similar type of finish. It's slightly different, but it's almost the same thing. The other thing I do outside of this is I build and restore classic cars where I do a lot of chrome plating, and the method that you use is slightly different, but the end result is very similar. So much money for a piece of the keyboard you will never see in normal use. Yeah, that's true, but hey, you know, we buy crazy priced keyboards for a number of different reasons. Mo, thanks for streaming the build, showing your thoughts. No problem, man. I'm not trying to offend or upset anyone. I just want to give a completely open and honest view of what I think. Andrea says Jay's honest opinions are always very informative. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Off topic, but are you going to ruin a group buy for POM plates for the JO1? There you have a laser cutter. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Wilson says, I think this board is suitable for people that really like a very thucky sound. Might not be right for people that like the boards to clack. Maybe, yeah, maybe. If people like this, there's nothing wrong with them buying it. I don't want to take away that from people. Like, that's absolutely a valid option. If people like it, go buy it. Absolutely. If you feel comfortable buying one of these, then do buy it. Okay. How does it compare to some other TKLs? I tell you what, I'm going to be building my J, not my J number. I was going to say my J number 2. My Jane's sat behind me, but I'm going to build a Keycut number 2 in the next couple of weeks. We'll compare them both once that build's been done. There we go. How about that? Cool. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done with the stream. If anyone's got any final questions, now is the time. I do think this board looks great though with the key set, and I think that works really, really well. So you know, just to recap, there is some positives to this board. I think the actual case design itself is quite nice. The PVD is pretty good quality. It's some of the nicest I've seen. The way the gaskets are cut and designed is exemplary, and I would like to use the way that they do them for projects of my own, especially the feet, like just the way these pieces of rubber have been cut and stylized. Really big fan of that. I also like the fact that the board's numbered on both pieces, not just on one. That's also good, so people can't mix and match later on down the line. Negatives, the line down the PVD coating is a bit of a disappointment there. Not a fan of the mount design, and I think the plate could be changed significantly to improve it. And I think that's a pretty fair summary. Packaging is great. Packaging is spot on. Yeah, the packaging is absolutely spot on. I don't have access to an NK65 plate file, I'm afraid. No CoinStorm, sorry. I think the final question is, am I disappointed that I spent $700 on this board? I know some streamers got them for free, and some people had them for free and built them and stuff like that. I prefer to buy stuff because then I feel like I'm not beholden to people to give a fake opinion or anything like that. And I'm not saying anyone would do that. Like I completely trust everyone else that's built one, but I think my personal view on this is I'm not disappointed I spent $700. I'm quite happy that I spent the money on this thing. I'm comfortable with that. Osiris says he wishes bezels were even all the way around. Yeah, I'd kind of like that. Like, I don't mind the difference between this bezel and the front bezel, but just make the top bezel the same as the bottom bezel. And I think the other thing I'd slightly change on the layout is I would have this size gap across here. Just drop them in another 12th of a unit, whatever it is, 12.5 of a unit. Other than that, there we go. Knowing what you know now, would you have bought it again? Let me use it for a week, and let me answer that question next time I stream Yo It's Delta. If you ask me again in a week, I will answer that question. Right now, I'm not disappointed I spent the money. Whether I would still spend the money having known what I know, that's a very different question. I need to live with the board for a bit of time before I can answer that. I hope that's fair. I hope that's fair. Apex Keyboards, first time tuning in on the stream. Nice board. Great seeing all the workshop stories. Thanks, man. I hope you enjoy the workshop Insta stories. Like, I just have a ton of fun making the Insta stories for the workshop. Still no keys, but we're going to use calculator to find some keys tomorrow. We are going to use a calculator to find my lost car keys tomorrow in the workshop. That's going to be fun. So there we go, guys. That's the build stream. Bingsu looking great. Good choice on the key set, guys. I'm going to put this board into use for the next few days and see how I feel about it. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers, guys.